Misty Copeland is one of ballet's biggest superstars. A child prodigy from an abusive background, she would go on to make history as the first black female principal dancer at the American Ballet Theatre. She's performed with Prince, advised President Obama on policy, and was listed as one of the world's most influential people by Time magazine in 2015.
Misty Copeland, welcome to The Economist Asks.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, I'd like to take you back this time of year to your first ever ballet performance. You were, I believe, about 13 years old, and it was the Nutcracker. And by my powers of deduction, I'm guessing this might have been a Christmas performance. So what did it feel like to dance that at the time? Take us back to the 13-year-old you.
Well, I had started dancing, maybe 6 or 7 months before. I had taken my first ballet class on a basketball court, and I had joined the ballet studio on full scholarship. It was the first time in my life that I felt like I was a part of something that was bigger than me, that I was a part of something that was...
Can you imagine creating your life at the age of 13?
Consistent in my life, that was beautiful, that made me feel strong, and that I had a voice. There was a sense of security and safety around me that I felt by being a part of the ballet world, by being on stage. And, my home environment was really chaotic. There was a lot of moving around. There was abuse. So ballet gave me this beautiful bubble that I was existing in. That, the worries of having to go on stage and perform and remember an entire ballet, that was nothing compared to the struggles I had already experienced at my 13 years. It showed me empathy. It showed me sympathy. It opened me up as a human being. And I think that the arts do this in general for people, which is why I think it's so vital for the arts to be a part of our, education. It should be a part of our school curriculum, no matter what the art form is.
11 years being the only person of colour in the company you were dancing in, and on that track to be principal dancer and to be at the top of your craft. How did that feel? And at what point did you ever ask yourself, if you did, why is this the case? Why am I the rarity here?
When I became a professional, it was a shock. It was a shock to my system. I mean, of course, I was very cognizant, aware of the fact that I am a Black woman. My mother raised me, though I am biracial. I'm Black, Italian, and German. Both of my parents are of mixed race. But she raised my siblings and I to understand that as a Black American, when we leave our home, we're going to be viewed as Black. It doesn't matter how much Black we have in us. That's how we are going to be seen and treated. So that was understood. But as a dancer, I was just Misty, this dancer. So I come to ABT, and there were a handful of Black male dancers that would come and go, and I was always curious as to why I saw them come and go as they did, and that I was the only woman that was there, and. It did make me question everything. It made me question, why me? I always thought to myself, there's no way that I am the best. There's no way that I am the first to come around that was capable. So that's when I started to kind of dig in deeper and do research on my heritage as a Black person, as a Black American, especially in the ballet culture. And that's when I stumbled upon so many incredible dancers that exist and had fruitful careers as far as their, within that time, as far as it could take them. I think of Raven Wilkinson and Janet Collins, and then, of course, Lauren Anderson with the Houston Ballet. But until you're given a true opportunity, which Kevin McKenzie at American Ballet Theatre eventually gave to me, you're not going to be written in history books as a Black dancer. And that's something I want to change.
Did you ever feel that you were held back from roles by either by your colour or by the perception of your colour?
Absolutely, without a doubt. And that's what's so hard for me, because people look at me and will say, their dancers are so much darker than you. Like, imagine their path. And then I always, I say that, it has to start somewhere. that there's discrimination no matter how much black you have in you. If you don't have pale white skin and fit in with the rest of
It's a shame that people look at your skin color first over your talent.
the group, the troupe, then you're going to be seen as other. The first time American Ballet Theatre filmed the ballet Swan Lake, and I was removed from the casting for being in the second act because I would have kind of ruined the aesthetic. That's what's said, by being the only brown person in the line of corps de ballet dancers. But yeah, throughout it's dancers of color are often cast as these earthy, over sexualized characters and never seen as soft, never seen as ethereal. And it's been, that's why it was such a big deal when I was cast as the Swan in Swan Lake, or Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, because Black dancers are never seen as given an opportunity to be romantic.
Are there roles where you would say, actually, no, I think I shouldn't dance a particular role because I do think this role, there would be something jarring about having a person of a certain ethnicity? Or do you think we just now have to sort of say, look, we're going to be colourblind about casting. Casting directors are just going to have to step up to that in the theatre, in ballet, in opera.
I think that what's so incredible about ballet, and why I think it's survived for as long as it has, is because the purity of the technique, which sees no color. When I think about the idea behind these kind of original concepts of these ballets, they're really representing the world. You think of La Bayadere in India, and you think of Don Quixote in Spain. So why are all of these roles being danced by white women and white men? It doesn't add up. So when they say that you have to look a certain way to portray these roles, a swan is not a white woman. We're creating a character. So art is fantasy, I think. It's beautiful escape. A Black woman can't portray the white swan. How do you define that?
Agree with what she claims people have told her, that a white woman, or that you have to look a certain way.
None of it truly makes sense. Why is a Black woman not capable of being a fairy? These are like mythical characters. They're not real people. If a white woman can, or a white man can portray, kind of this earthy Black character and paint his face black, why can't a Black person portray that role? It's just there's so many rules that have been bent that we really have to really have to open up this dialogue and really get to the root of it and address it.
But would you feel uncomfortable, because we would now find blackface in most forms of art or comedy or representation to be something reprehensible, and yet we have had roles in ballet that were conducted like that. Is that something that needs to disappear from ballet as well?
Absolutely. I think that it has slowly gone away for most companies, especially in America.
Your thoughts about blackface, let me know in the comments.
But, I think it was 2 years ago now that I ended up in a social media battle with the Bolshoi Ballet, because they still do blackface in their version of La Bayadere in Russia. This day and age, there are certain things, if you want to be inclusive and you want the ballet to continue to be relevant, and I know that this is more of an issue in America, then you can't offend an entire community of people. Blackface has such a deep-rooted negative history. So to continue to present that, why would the Black community or the Indian community or whoever who's being discriminated against or being offended, why would they want to come and support your company? Why would they want to come and support these things? So, I think of it as these monuments that are being taken down that are just reminders of things, bad parts of our history, or, things that we don't need to put in front of people's faces daily. It's something to put in a museum, put in a history book. They're not something that should be displayed in today's culture and time.
You've also worked with President Obama. You were advising him on policy around fitness and also on reaching groups in terms of fitness and better body awareness who might not otherwise respond to that kind of public health messaging. I mean, it struck me you had a fair amount in common, really, in terms of your background in tenacity and both raised by very determined single mothers. Did you find the Obama years to be inspiring in a way that you think you can take forward for young Americans, particularly young Americans of colour, but not only, or something that, we have then seen an abrupt reversal of a lot of those gains? So I wondered where you came out, having met and worked with the former president yourself.
I think that as much as I see such a positive growth and change in the ballet world simply by my promotion, simply by seeing me on the stage in Swan Lake and in the Firebird as a Black woman, it has changed the possibilities and opportunities and futures for so many dancers who see themselves through me. And that's what happened when President Obama became the first Black president of the United States. And so for that, it gave America, a second chance, a new life to see a future for an entire group of people that, America was built on our backs from slavery, and this was a new beginning. And so, that none of that can be taken away. That happened, and it affected so many people.
Misty Copeland, thank you very much for joining us. You can listen to the full.
When it comes to Misty Copeland, I don't know too much about her. I've seen her performance back in 2010, and the only other ballet that I know about is my aunt. She did some ballet back when she was a little bit younger. Other than that, that's all I know. Let me know in the comments, have you seen any of Misty Copeland's performances or any ballet performances at all? Also, let me know what you think about this video. Let's have a discussion.